Join me every month for the inspiration to find your finish line. Hello, everyone, and welcome to 2022 and to Find Your Finish Line, presented by Curad Performance, the official medical supplier of Ironman. I'm Mike Riley, and this podcast is not only about you being able to find your finish line at a race, but also in life. I'll talk with successful people from all walks of life that have gone through the ups and downs of getting to that finish line, and their stories hopefully will inspire you. So my guest today, I know he'll inspire you. It is Mr. Sam Long. He was second this past September at the 70.3 Ironman World Championships. He's got a couple Ironman wins under his belt, multiple 70.3 wins, and probably one of the most dramatic races I ever saw was him against Lionel at St. George 70.3 last May. So hello, Sam. How are you?
Yo. What's going on, Mike? It's great to be on the show. And yeah, a big memory that stands out last year was when you brought me in at Ironman Coeur d'Alene after what was a pretty hard day, obviously in 105-degree weather. And that was it was my second Ironman win, but the first one with you there, bringing me in. And so that was something I've always dreamed about doing. And it was as special as I imagined.
Well, I appreciate that. And it was just as special for me because we survived a day that was, like I said, Kona hot, for goodness sake. It might have been worse than Kona hot.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, then I'm well prepared.
Yeah, exactly. So you and Laura, your girlfriend, are right there in Tucson training, aren't you?
Yep. Yes, sir. So I just moved down here from Boulder, Colorado. I packed my car up and moved out of my parents' basement and drove down here and have kind of moved in and starting to make our house here. So it's been fun to kind of do that outside of the triathlon and the racing to kind of advance in life a little bit as well.
Yeah, exactly. We all got to move forward in life too. We don't want to be left behind, that's for sure. So no. You have had a pretty incredible last week or two, as we saw, with signing on quite a few sponsors. Can you, because, the more I think about it, navigating a career as a professional triathlete, especially on the rise like you are, can be tricky, and people want to jump on the yo bandwagon, which I love. And you've got a USA lineup of sponsors. Take us through the process. Are you a part of it? Do you have somebody doing that work for you? Are you involved in it? Take us through that process of all these sponsor signings.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mike. And I'd say I do things a little bit differently than most other pros who have now reached the level I'm at, and that I basically do it all 100% on my own. I obviously have some advisors. I have a lawyer who helps me with contracts. My dad's a business professional. He's been in banking for 30 plus years, so he can help me kind of with the financial side and understanding it. But I love connecting with people, and I love connecting with my sponsors and getting to know them and talking about brand agendas and how to spread their word and telling them even about myself and how I want to add value. And so it's a lot of work, certainly, that I've taken on, but it's been really rewarding. And it's especially rewarding to see, like, okay, I've been training so hard for so many years. And first off, those years of training took years to show up to perform at the level needed on the race course. And then I've performed on the race course now for a few years. And finally now it's like the sponsors are starting to come through. So it's really doing it myself has allowed me to bring everything full circle of, okay, the hard work leads to the results, and the results lead to the sponsors, and the sponsors lead to, well, hopefully more hard work and more results, but also like a good living and being able to feel like, for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm actually established in the sport, and that if I had a bad season, I wouldn't be having to quit and go and get a desk job, basically. So I can now say with confidence, I'm going to be in this sport, in 2025 and 2030, and that it actually allows me to have a little bit more patience and a little bit more calm in the way I approach my training and not having to force things quite as much.
Yeah, I see you at a desk job just about as much as I see, a weightlifter doing anything else. I mean, I just can't imagine you at a desk job.
No, exactly.
So does that, now you're juggling sponsors, you're doing it yourself, as you say, which I find very admirable. Do you feel a little pressure on how do you juggle? You know what kind of training you've got to do and the events you're going to do to be able to juggle that sponsorship life and the racing training life and then life itself. That's a tough little balance.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it's been learning how to prioritize my time and take the important moments, just to focus on what's important to me, basically. And obviously now living with my girlfriend, and there's been times where I've gotten chewed out a bit, which I'm sure every triathlete will agree with, right? With a job and pursuing triathlon, that sometimes that family life can lag a little bit behind, and then you get called out for it. So it's, I mean, it's really, for me, it's two important things or three important things, right? It's triathlon, which you could break out as the performance side, and then the sort of sponsorship business side. And then it's my friends and family. And that's really all that I focus on in life. And so it's, if something doesn't fit into those categories, then I don't really do it that much. And yeah, I think it's good to be busy, and it's fun to be busy. And I've had to learn kind of how to be efficient doing the sponsorship work. I mean, it's also hard when you're first picking up a sponsor. It would take me like an hour to write one email. Oh, this is what I want to do, and this is, and I'd be so nervous about it. But once I've done it enough, it's kind of, I know what to say, and it starts to flow a little bit, right? It's like being at your first day at work compared to being there now for a year or something, or 5 years. It's just a little bit. Not a little bit, it's a lot faster now.
Yeah. And Sam, you're going to find out, no matter what professional athlete was in what sport, when they build that business side of their arsenal, they're going to use that much longer than their athletic career. So that's something that you can look forward to. You're giving yourself a business college education right now, which is very good.
Well, so exactly. I literally tell you what, Mike, I've thought that I've gotten more in the last year doing sponsorship and connecting with people on all of that and running my business side, starting my own apparel business, than I got hands down in a year of school. Absolutely hands down. I learned more this last year than I did getting my degrees.
I know. It's funny how that works out, but getting that degree is a good start. That's for sure.
It's a good start.
So you, in my mind, you had a great 2021 season. I mean, you went from 35th to 2nd at the World Championship, 70.3. That's something to hang a hat on and say, well, you know what? I did some right things. But for some reason, I don't know, I've seen some interviews and things like that. Were you happy with 2021? Totally happy with it?
No, I really wasn't. At times I've wished I could be happy with it, but I think part of it was my kind of nut-brain decision to race Ironman Chattanooga 1 week after 70.3 Worlds. So I ended up my season. I mean, most people know I DNF'd there. It was just too much to ask of my body 1 week after. But so instead of ending on the high of being second in the world, I ended my season with a DNF, which is basically the worst way you can end the season. And it left me wanting more. But I think even if I hadn't done that, I still would have been feeling like I wanted more. And I guess it's just the closer I get to the top, the more I realize I can be at the top, and the more I want to be at the top, basically, right? When I'm 35th in the world, like I was at Nice in the 70.3 World Championships, it's kind of like, okay, well, first is so far off. It's like, don't even imagine it and don't even think about it. But then when you're second, it's kind of, you can almost touch it. And so then it's easy to imagine wanting more, I guess.
Well, and we'll go back to that race this year. But the end of the season with that Chattanooga decision, and all of a sudden, Sam, you had to sit back and watch some incredible performances and some things that have never been done in our sport. Did that make you angst or jealous, or because I think you ended up canceling your holiday plans with your family? Okay, I got to jump back on this friggin' wagon.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, exactly right. And that's probably also why I then didn't view my season as a success. But it's basically like I finished, and then I got to watch, Gustav Iden go and smash Lionel at Ironman Florida. And then I especially had to, or got to, or maybe had the privilege to watch Christian Blumenfeld go 7:21 or 7:22 at Ironman Cozumel, right? And it was kind of like, okay, this sport's getting elevated by young guys just like me, and I don't want to get left behind. So yeah, I canceled my Christmas break plans and just trained right through Christmas, which was it was actually awesome. I loved every second of it, and it's great to feel like I've had some success now and that I'm doing pretty well. But I'd say I'm more hungry than I've ever been in my entire life to keep getting better and to keep improving. And so I know sometimes people get complacent when they start to get up there, but I'd say it's the exact opposite with me.
Good. And you know, those other guys you talk about, they're your age, but they started, Sam, as you know, when they were like 10, 11 years old. And your first 70.3 was when you were 18 as an age grouper. So do you feel like gosh, I'm behind, I'm trying to catch up?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, right, they've literally been doing triathlon twice as long as me. If I'm going into my 8th season, they're going into their 15th or 16th season. And I guess in some ways, particularly in the swim, I feel like, okay, I'm having to catch up and I'm having to put that work in. But it actually sort of excites me because I've gotten somewhat close already, and I can reasonably expect my improvement curve to be larger than theirs, right? Simply because if you've been doing something for less time, you likely improve at it more. There's less you've already worked on, so there's more things and more areas of improvement than someone who's been doing it for twice as long. And so it's both sort of, yes, I'm lagging a little bit behind, but it's also, okay, great, I have so much more to keep improving.
Right. So when you approach a new year and this new season coming up, do you plan it out with a coach? Do you have a coach, Sam?
Yeah, I have a coach, Coach Ryan Bolton. He's out of, he's kind of out of his suitcase. Yeah, you would, of course, know him. He went to the Olympics, the 2000 Olympics. He won Ironman Lake Placid in 2003 and now runs quite a successful coaching business. And yeah, I mean, we already have the whole season planned out, basically. We have every race planned out. And that way, in the past, I've sometimes added races or stuff like that. And Chattanooga, I think, was one of the last times we'll see me do that. I wasn't supposed to do that. I was going to do Kona 3 weeks after St. George, and I wanted to do another Ironman. And it was like, okay, there weren't that many options. I actually predicted that Sacramento wouldn't happen. I just didn't think it would happen. So I said, oh, there's the only other option besides that was Chattanooga or Cozumel. And I didn't want to race all the way till Cozumel. So it was, okay, give Chattanooga a go. But anyways, point being is that whole race only came into plan because other plans changed and Kona got canceled, while this year, hopefully, like, my race plan can stick true and I can just kind of follow the steps we've laid out already.
So what do you think, you and Ryan, you know, every triathlete, age groupers alike, you know, they want to improve from season to season. But where do you think, Sam, your improvements are going to come from? Is it going to be individually from the swim, bike, run, or just overall?
I think both. I mean, I think it's no secret. I mean, I've got like at least a minute. I can foresee myself improving in the swim in a 70.3 this year, and up to 2 or 3 minutes in an Ironman in the swim. And then I still see a lot of improvement. I don't know that my bike times will get that much faster, but I'm hoping to be more efficient on the bike. And basically be able to conserve a little bit more energy. And then, I'm hoping to be able to run still quite a bit faster. And you throw that in and then you start to get overall faster, right? Because another year of maturity, another year of racing experience, I focus a lot on making the right decisions in the moment. And if we went back to that St. George race with Lionel in May, you know, I lost the race by 6 seconds. I don't think that really had too much to do with fitness. Maybe another year of racing. I mean, Lionel's been in a lot more close battles than me at that point. And I think now with another year of racing, I'd potentially be able to get the edge, or maybe it would be 4 seconds. I don't know. But that's something that only comes with race experience rather than necessarily being more fit, let's say.
How do you train yourself mentally? I mean, you think that race came down to being a mental lapse at all, or was it pure physical, Sam?
I think it was some of both. I mean, certainly in the moment, it felt like, okay, Lionel was just more physically stronger than me at the moment. But then when I went back and looked at the footage, we came through an aid station. I went to grab a water. He went right then, which sort of, he got like a few seconds to get ahead. And then, okay, I'm kind of on my back foot catching up. So, I mean, I can't lie. I mean, in the moment, I was giving everything I can, and it felt very physical, as if I was just giving everything I had. But yeah, so I don't know. It felt pretty physical, but I also want to think like potentially there were things earlier on in the race that I could have done. Like I made a big surge at about mile 6 of the run on a downhill and kind of got a little bit of time on him. And then I actually like overshot the turn a little bit. So then I ended up basically burning a match for nothing. And then he caught right back up on me. And it's like, if I had just used that match at the end, I might have been running stride for stride with him right to the very finish line.
Yeah. Let's go back to the 70.3 Worlds in St. George. You were only 4 minutes behind Gustav with your second there. I want to take you back. Do you remember the pro press conference we had with all of you up on stage? And when Gustav and Christian were talking amongst one another, I asked them a question, and they were like discounting all of the rest of you on that stage in that race because those two were there. Did that piss you off? Did that?
Oh yeah, I'll never forget that moment, to be honest. I actually would almost credit that moment one of the biggest moments for allowing me to get second place, because I remember sitting up there and it just absolutely infuriated me to basically be saying, oh yeah, we're getting first and second, and it doesn't even matter who else is here. It doesn't matter whatsoever. It was just a moment to be another athlete that's done a lot of work and kind of saying, hey, wait a minute, like at least one of us has to do something. And if it's not me, I would have hoped it would have been someone else. And it really lit a fire underneath my butt. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the eyes of you and a few of your counterparts, and I thought a couple of guys were going to get up and go after them. But it was all in good competition. How do you think you're going to be set up for the 2021 Ironman World Championships in St. George this year? You know the course like the back of your hand, but obviously it's 140.6 miles. Is everything geared towards that right now, Sam?
Yeah, everything's geared towards that. That's my main focus, obviously, for the first half of the year. And I love the course. I think there's still maybe even Ironman's going to make a few modifications to the final course. I'm not exactly sure. That it says on the website that the maps may change. And so I know certainly they wouldn't make it easier than it is. If anything, they would make it harder. And it's already a pretty hard and difficult course. And anyone who's raced there in May knows that the mornings can be quite cold. I mean, the reservoir is usually like 60 degrees that time of year, but that it often gets up to about 95 degrees there in May. So it's going to be this interesting combination of like, it's not just guys that have to be able to perform well and run well in the heat, but you actually also have to be able to perform well in the cold, basically in a cold weather swim. And the bike course actually goes even higher up than the 70.3. It goes up over 5,000 feet. So you also have to be able to perform at altitude. So I think it's kind of it's a great race that sort of forces the athletes to be able to perform in all conditions, right? Sort of down low, also at altitude, cold weather, hot weather, windy, sunshine, hills, flats. It's basically everything all at once. And I mean, yeah, I'm just so excited about that race.
Yeah, everybody is. Do you think you're going to take a look and plan that race out strategy-wise, not because of the competition, but because of where you know those tough hills are going to come, the whole deal? I mean, because I think it's got to be a strategical race as much as it is a physical race.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, it's going to be super strategic, especially being a world championships, right? There'll be kind of big legal draft packs in the pros, right, at 12 meters. There'll be big groups of that. And then it's kind of when you go and when you attack and when people are going to get tired. And there's opportunities on that course, certainly for that. And so I've already been thinking about that a lot. Thankfully, like you said, I know the course like the back of my hand. I've gone out there and done training camps. So I've done that, the loop, the full bike courses on. I've probably ridden that 25 times in my life. So I kind of know it pretty well. And I know that there's some good opportunities for carnage, basically.
Hold on, everyone. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsors. Even after 40 years on the microphone at thousands of events, welcoming hundreds of thousands of athletes to the finish lines, I am still in awe by the incredible endurance of each and every athlete and what you display. The physical exertion, the sweat, and the challenges you put your body through deserve a level of support that match your dedication. As the official medical supplier for the Ironman US Series, Curad Performance Series lineups of wraps, tapes, bandages, supports, and braces give you, the serious athlete and weekend warriors alike, the optimal support needed to keep moving, including new far infrared kinesiology tape technology, which reduces energy made through body heat, back to targeted areas to help you heal faster and enhance performance. So don't you let sprains and muscle pain hold you back. Recover smarter and shop the entire Curad Performance Series on Amazon. So Sam, I'm going to keep talking about some other races, but it just hit me because I don't know. Where did Yo come from?
To be honest, Mike, I don't even know.
What do you mean you don't know? How can you not know? It's yours. It's your moniker.
So what happened is I'd start my Instagram stories. It was just something I said without realizing it. I would say, yo, what's going on? And yo, how are you? And finally people were like, you got to like actually make that a thing. You got to like try and get that trademarked. That's your custom phrase. And then it just kind of took off naturally from there, but it was never something like, oh, I'm going to start saying this. I literally didn't even know I said it. And people were like, you say yo a lot. And I was like, I do. That's kind of a weird thing to say. And that is pretty awesome to have.
It is awesome. In my mind, it's like saying, what's up, what's going on, how you doing, you know, and you even, I even found myself saying it on the microphone when you're coming out thinking, oh my gosh, should I do that? Yo. It's like I'm advertising your moniker when you come on in, but it's like, hey, what's up? Good job. You know? So I love it. Now you got it on t-shirts and a clothing line.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is just a fun thing to say, especially when someone's doing well or coming in. It's kind of like, yo, how are you? Or yo, you're crushing it. And it's just kind of, it's just all in good fun, you know?
It is. I love it. And the best part is when I'm standing in, the spectators are screaming it out, you know, I go, oh my gosh, it's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Your fellow competitors may not like hearing it when they're going by, but you do.
No, I don't think some of them do. I've heard after they're like, oh, that's all I heard all day. I mean,
So Sam, take us through, you know, those few critical weeks right before a major event and the things and the workouts you do to let yourself know you're ready to rumble.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think first off, it kind of comes with this overarching approach that's beyond the details of individual workouts or anything. And it's finding more time in the day to relax and get a quiet mind. And I really think that's probably the most important thing, because the intensity, the training starts to have more of an intensity, right? The mind's starting to be unquiet. You've got people putting pressure on you. I'm putting pressure on myself. And there's so much going on that I really have to make a big focal point to have time to kind of turn off, and the phone's blowing up on Instagram. And so it's like really in those final few weeks, I make sure to have time where I'm just totally turned off and saying no to people, saying no to things, and just kind of with my few closest friends or with myself, and just, I honestly think that's the most important thing to do. And that doesn't necessarily look like anything specific. It could just be, you know, the phone's off. I'm getting dinner with me and my two parents at a nice place, and it's quiet and we're not talking about triathlon. Or it could be the phone's off and I'm just, you know, sitting in the Normatec boots and I'm watching Netflix. Or it could be doing a meditation class, or I'm going on a hike. So those are things I don't think that are often thought about as being achieved in the last few weeks, but that's super important and super critical to me. And because other than that, it's like every single detail gets so structured, right? It's like every workout is planned to the minute, and every meal is planned, and every calls planned, and it's just it's all this intensity in daily life. And it's then, I'll see 2 massage therapists a week. I'll get dry needling once a week. It's like, I mean, it's never ending. That I found sometimes I haven't taken that quiet time, and it's like I can just sort of fall off the cliff because it's almost like so intense. But it's got to be intense to be ready to get the most out of yourself. And it's just then finding that little bit of balance at the center of the storm, right, where it's calm, where you can get ready. And but yeah, like, I mean, I usually do my last long run like 7-8 days out, and that's kind of a signal point of like, okay, this is on. And yeah, kind of over the years now, I've kind of learned I've got certain workouts I do in the final few weeks. So those are sort of like they're benchmarks, right? And I can kind of compare performance and say like, okay, I performed better at this race than I did 6 months ago, right? I mean, going into St. George, the World Championships, I knew I was better for the World Championships than I was in May, because I did some of the same exact workouts in the final 2 weeks and they were going better. So it was like, I should be able to have a better race, which I was still second, but in my opinion, it was a better race.
It was faster.
It was definitely faster, and on a harder run course too.
Yeah, exactly. So you're a big supporter, as you should be, of the PTO, and obviously in October you're gonna be, you're a Kona contender. PTO's added some attractive races in the 4 months prior to Kona. How do you go through the process of then choosing where you're going to compete, and you figuring out what your priority is during that time period? And I'm assuming you're going to go to Kona, of leading up to Kona.
Yeah, I mean, God, is next year a challenge? I feel like normally you've got Kona and you've got 70.3 Worlds, historically speaking, for the last 10 years. And you either decide to do both, or you maybe decide just to do Kona, right? And so it's kind of, the decisions are made easy. This year there's 2 Ironman World Championships, there's a 70.3 World Championships, and the PTO has thrown in 3 great events. And so it's like, I mean, that's 6 events right there that are all world caliber championship level events. And so I think, the acronym FOMO is something that we're all going to have to deal with next year. And we're going to have to decide which races to pick and which races not to pick. And so, just really trying to align the goals up, and thinking a lot about, what sets me up to have the best career, not just this year, but also, in 5 years from now, and in my development as an athlete, and what's important to my sponsors, but also what's important to me. And then kind of finding, okay, how can I do the most number of these events while performing at them? And what's the kind of different, how many weeks are between the events? Say if I do like the Edmonton race and Kona compared to, say, Edmonton and St. George and Kona, and kind of figuring out, okay, which one do I have to skip? And I mean, I know for me, the most important thing, just because of St. George, is I'm the most excited about the 2 St. George events, actually, to be honest. And because then I know it's going to move away from there for a while. So I think I'm the most excited about Ironman World Champs in St. George in May. I mean, it's the first World Champs in 3 years, so I'm so excited about that. And then my second most excited event actually wouldn't be Kona. It would be 70.3 World Championships again, just because I was second there, and I know then it's kind of, that could be the last time the World Championships is raced at St. George. So to me, it sort of feels like, okay, it's kind of my last chance to really win that race on that course. And I just, that town's like, I mean, it's like my town. So I really take that seriously. And then with my age, I have a feeling that Kona is going to return now in October, and that then it will stay there most likely for a long time. And so I think like Jan Frodeno would feel very, very differently, I'm sure, right? He's done Kona. He's won Kona multiple times. It's kind of, he's getting old. It's like, it's his last dying breath to get another Kona title this year. That I think that will be the be all end all. And he's maybe not even that worried about St. George. This is just purely an example. I could be completely wrong. He might say, oh, St. George is the most important, but I think it just kind of goes to show that we all have different priorities as athletes that are important to us at different points in our careers.
Yeah, those priorities go obviously with age and accentuation of the races you've done before. So I think everybody's they're in the same boat as you, Sam, just trying to figure out what to do, because it's a great lineup, that's for sure. Hey, why do you like the triathlon lifestyle so much? What drew you to it? To where all of a sudden you go, hey, well, I'm good at it, but why do you like this lifestyle so much?
Oh, I mean, I think the first reason is I just have too much energy and too much ADD for regular day life.
You can't do anything. You got to have all this, huh?
Oh, I have to have all this, right? And I remember as a kid, before I found triathlon, I never knew there was such a sport that really existed where, oh, you could do 3 sports and that's called one sport. So I remember I would always take in high school, whatever, I would take as many like PE and weight training classes as I could possibly fit on my schedule, because that was definitely at the time, and it still would be a lot more fun than studying chemistry, let's say. And then I remember I'm a triplet too, so my parents couldn't drive us around, so I rode my bike everywhere, and then I would go to football practice right after, and then I would ride my bike, and then I would go to soccer practice, and then I would ride home, and then eventually I even added on, I'd go home and I'd study for a few hours, and then I would then go to the climbing gym and I would go bouldering for a few hours at like 8:00 at night. So I was doing like 3-4 sports a day, just because I had so much energy, and I just kind of loved the challenge of learning multiple sports. So then basically what I found out, oh, this thing called triathlon exists. I found out of that my senior year of high school, and then suddenly every morning I'd wake up, I'd ride my bike, in the freezing cold weather, at 6 a.m. to go swim laps, at the pool before school. Then I'd ride to school. Then I'd still get my weight training class. Then I would do the cross country practice, and then I would ride home, and I'd often add on extra miles for fun. And that's kind of how it came together. And actually what's crazy about it is my grades actually started getting so much better the more I would work out, because it allowed my mind to kind of calm down, and I'd be able to focus better. And to be honest, I would go out and I'd be on my bike and I'd be running the arithmetic tables in my head. So I would actually study while I was on the bike, and it helped me memorize things. And yeah, and I think I just love, like, I remember when I would only do one sport, I just found like, okay, learning one sport's like mastering one sport's hard, but like mastering 3 sports, it's just a whole nother like level of fun and complexity. And so I don't know, I just it just kind of grew on me. And then I just think it's also like one sport, you're just not outside it, you're not outside in nature enough. And triathlon, of all the sports, I think it puts us, it gives us the ability to be in nature, in the great outdoors, more than pretty much any other sport I can think of. And that's what really grounds me to it.
Well, everybody, you're listening to Sam Long on Find Your Finish Line here. And Sam, when you talk about that, you make me tired, for God's sakes, for all the stuff you're doing. But I remember one time I asked you, because you were being a triplet, that did your brothers, did they compete and everything? And you said, no, they didn't do it that much. Now I know why. You did it all. They didn't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
They sat back going, hell, let Sam do it. I don't need to go ride my bike at 6 degrees in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing all of it. I mean, sometimes when I was a young guy, I'm still a pretty young guy, obviously, but I mean, I remember there would be nothing more cool than like waking up at 4:30 in the morning and, oh, how many miles can I bike before I have to be at work or school all day? It was just the most exciting thing to me.
I love that. I love that. Hey, Sam, what do you think now? I love it that you're talking more about the business side of the sport, because it is a huge side and it's always going to be here, and you'll be able to take advantage of it and be a part of it. But what do you think our sport and events can do better at? Where can we improve? Where can triathlon improve?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start by saying I think that the greatest thing that triathlon has is that age groupers and pros share the same course, and that we're so close together, right? I mean, you don't get to go and play tennis with, Federer and Djokovic on the same court at the same time. And so I think this connects our pros, the pros of the sport, with the age groupers more so than any other sport, right? And that we're literally with each other. And in the morning, we're in the same transition area. We're going through the same nerves at the same time as we get ready. And I think there's got to be ways where we sort of almost like capitalize on that investment, or we just realize the potential of that investment. And I think, yeah, it's just like the pros, I think, add a lot of value being there, and it's finding the value the pros give to all the age group, and certainly some age groupers, they don't really care about the professionals, but certainly some do. That I think it's
most do,
and most do. That I think it's a powerful experience, and one that, like, I ventured, if you asked, whatever, my dad, who's an age grouper, although obviously he doesn't have to pay to interact with me, but I think if you ask, say, like, how much would you be willing to pay for that experience with pros on the course, they would say, I think, a reasonable amount. And if that amount even just went to the prize purses of pros, like, we would see professionals making a lot more money. But I think the other side with that is telling the stories of the pros a lot more, which obviously, I mean, I'm on this podcast, so that's what you're doing right now, Mike. And I know, like, the Facebook Live events for Ironman, they had way more this last year. They started doing a fighting chance, right? That's the YouTube series all week, and it kind of follows as we would lead into the race week. And so I think it's kind of like two steps, right? You start to tell the stories of these pros, right? Because we all kind of know Tom Brady's story, right? He was picked in the last draft pick. He wasn't supposed to be a superstar. And, now he's the biggest, most winning guy of all time. He takes great care of himself. He invests this much. And it's like, we all know his story as if it's almost like a fairy tale. And if we could get to that status where people knew pros stories that well, then I think we would see, like, not only would endemic sponsorship rise, which just means like swim, bike, run sponsors, but we would also see, like, Toyota would come in, or Costco, or McDonald's, or whoever, that basically the commercials and the people you see getting sponsored by football players or any other sports would start to come into the sport. And that's where professionals would really start to make a big living. And not only that, but then, like, Ironman would make more money too, because, then you might have these huge national billion dollar companies saying, like, we want to sponsor this event. And so then, honestly, everyone would be making more. And then hopefully even, like, age group entry fees would go down as well, because it's kind of getting offset. And then I think the community as a whole would kind of be bigger. And so, I also personally believe that, like, PTO and Ironman are actually, that both of them put together are actually great, because it's like, it provides competition for each other. And it's kind of, when one does something well, I think the other side of it will pick it up and start following suit. And so I honestly don't think we've been in such a positive time for triathlon in a long time. And it's such an exciting time to be a part of it.
It really is. And coming from a sales world, as I have all these years on my other careers, competition is good. Competition can only make you better, as you pro triathletes know that. And it's the same in business. Sam, how have you coped with the whole COVID situation, even today and in the past? Does it make you uneasy? Are you abiding by everything? I mean, how are you getting through it all?
Yeah, it's a great question, Mike. I mean, certainly, like, we're going on almost 2 years of this.
Yeah, no kidding.
This now. The last 2 years have been just incredibly different and unusual, and at times just uncomfortable and not ideal, and not what I wanted to deal with. And sometimes very scary. And it's hard to see family. It's hard to see friends. It's hard to travel. It's hard to do all these things we want. But for me, I ended up kind of trying to flip the coin and view the positive side of it. And I really viewed it as a time to reinvent myself. And I think that's really what we saw when, at the start of the COVID pandemic, I mean, I was not a household name in triathlon by any means of it. And I kind of viewed it as a time of, like, I guess basically the saying, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And it was like, this is going to be kind of a gauntlet of fire for triathlon and triathletes, and those that don't work hard, and those that can't train hard and keep improving without the promise of the next race or the next paycheck and all that, like, will kind of fall off. And I put in so much work during those years, and both again, training, but also trying to figure out, like, how can I launch a YouTube? How can I launch a brand? And it gave me all this time and space to think, because everything was shut down. It was basically like a forced, okay, divulge. And same thing as back in high school, right? I had all this energy, and it was like, where the heck is this energy going to go? Am I just going to bounce off the walls, or am I going to, like, channel it and use something out of it? And I couldn't be more happy with how it came out individually for me. And I know, like, a lot of pro triathletes and age groupers in general, they took that same energy and used it as a time to transform themselves and kind of look inward and say, what can I improve that's not bad in myself, but just what can I improve in myself that I want to make better. And I think when things kind of shut down, it was actually a good time to do that.
Yeah, good reflection. You kind of change your philosophy, and because you absolutely have to. Sam, who are the male and female pro triathletes in the sport that you respect the most? It's not about, in my mind, like or dislike, or good things or bad things, but who do you respect most among your peers?
Yeah, so I mean, on the men's side, I honestly think Sebastian Kienle has always been like my biggest role model, or my biggest just the guy I've always respected the most. I think he's maybe not always been quite the best. He's been very, very close to the best, and at times the best. I mean, he has 3 world championship titles, but it's kind of just the way he's carried himself and what he's done for the sport. He's always been so honest and so just like himself. And also, like, I mean, I've talked with him and I've heard stories, and he's helped me. Like, he helped me when I was just breaking out and told me things in my training, like, oh, why don't you do this? And why don't you do that? And then even when he's telling me these conversations, he's like, God, I really shouldn't be telling you any of this, because next thing I know, you're going to be faster than me. And then I'm going to be hitting myself on the head. But it was just like, he's like so unselfish in how he's helped bring people up. And he's just brought so many people in the sport, and just the way he's raced. And I couldn't have more respect for a guy like that, to be completely honest. And then, I mean, on the women's side, I've always really respected Heather Jackson. I mean, my first age group Ironman win at Coeur d'Alene was when she won, and we actually ran together for like 10 miles on the course. And so,
did you really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
That's cool.
I've always kind of looked up to her, and it's nice to kind of have an American close by, and now I've become friends with her. But I mean, also, like, I mean, Daniela Reef she's just so exceptional and so good. And it's just kind of, to be as good as Daniela Reef has been on the men's side would be, just an absolutely incredible thing. And in some ways, while Sebastian's kind of a little bit louder and a little bit like he puts himself out there, Daniela also shows a side of like, you can really just let the legs do 100% of the talking. And I mean, she's Swiss, right? So she likes to be a little bit more like, her private life is pretty private. And I don't think there's a problem with that at all. I think it's just the two of them together kind of show, okay, whatever is your personality and suits you. And if you race as fast as Daniela, then heck, you can do whatever you want, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, Sebi and Danny, not too shabby of a couple of great athletes that you have respect for. That is good. What age groupers, I talk to them all the time, Sam, as you know, and they're always trying to improve, but obviously they're juggling a lot of things in their lives, because so many of them are moms and dads, and so many of them have these 40, 50-hour work week jobs and stuff. But the whole pandemic has really busted them up pretty good. What kind of advice would you give to those age groupers to help them to keep moving forward and to get to that finish line?
Yeah, I guess it's 2 things. I think, 3 things. I guess first, it is great to get a coach, to have a professional coach help you. But then, and because I coach a few age groupers myself, and the biggest advice I often find myself giving is like, I give them the training plan, and exactly, they have families, they're working 50-hour weeks. And sometimes it's like something comes up at work, or their kid gets sick, and they're messaging me like, oh, I'm not going to be able to get this in. Like, I wasn't able to get up before work. They're like, I'll get on the bike at 9 PM and I'll be going to 9 till midnight. And I'm like, no. Like, we don't need to mess around with that. Like, you've done enough work and you're consistent enough that, like, I think when something comes up in the age group, it's even the same as a professional, if something really crazy comes up, it's okay to miss a training session here and there. Like, you don't have to force it too much and too crazy. And if you get that consistency on, you can be easy on yourself. And it comes up more for age groupers. I mean, there's no sense in staying up till midnight doing a hard workout when you could be getting 2 extra hours of sleep and recovering. And so I think that's really important. And then I think the other tip is like, the sexy stuff isn't really needed that much for age groupers. And by that, I mean, like, really focus on a big solid foundation, rather than like going, say, to if you're training for an Ironman, and you're an age grouper or you're a professional, you don't really need to go to the track and do like 10 200s or 10 400s fast. You just need to focus on being strong. And I mean, I even hear from people all the time like, oh, well, I'm not going to be possibly doing well in my Ironman because I'm going to have to walk some. And I'm like, hey, I've won 2 Ironmans and I walked in both of them. So like, don't be hard on yourself if you have to walk. And that's why they think, oh, I need to go to the track and do 10 400s at 5-minute pace per mile because that's what speed means and that's how I'll be fast. But it's like, well, any age grouper, from mile 20 to 26, and even a professional from mile 20 to 26, it's literally putting one foot in front of the other and doing that as best you can without stopping and having a positive mindset. And so I think if you can focus on that and visualize that and practice that in training, you'll be well prepared for that final 10K.
I think you'd be a great coach, Sam. Do you think you'd be a good dad?
Oh God. I mean, yeah, it's going to come one day. I don't know how soon, but I think it's funny to even compare. Like 2 years ago, I thought, oh, I'm never going to have kids because all I thought about was triathlon and I want to be on my bike. But now it's already I'm kind of starting to think like, oh, there's more beautiful things to life besides triathlon and more challenges. And I mean, I think I can already think being a parent would be so much harder than being a top professional. But I'm definitely not ready for that challenge yet, but maybe one day.
Yeah, I guarantee. I think it's harder.
Yeah.
I think it's harder. So, Sam, my final question on Find Your Finish Line comes out of the Baja 1000 racing, the desert racing down there. I've got friends that race there all the time, and they call it table racing. After the race, they sit around and reminisce about the course, what happened, who won, all that good stuff. So I call it tri-table racing here. Talk about any tidbit from a race you want to bring up as a memory with us, good or bad, whatever you want. It comes to your mind.
That's a great question.
You can go back to when you're 18. You can do it on a race, whatever.
Yeah, I got to make it a good one. I mean, here's a pretty good one, actually. So after Kona, right, I raced as an age grouper. It was 2015. Yeah, it was 2015, yeah. And I was 19 years old. And I remember, obviously, the day was everything you would expect the day to be. And I remember finishing and whatever, enjoying and celebrating with my family. And then I remember I'd already done 2 other Ironmans. And I remember, I thought I knew what leg soreness would be. And that night, my legs were so sore, I literally couldn't sleep. And what I did is I put the Normatec boots on and I put them on a continuous cycle and wore them the entire night for 10 hours. I wore them for like 8 hours straight, running all night, and just slept there, with my legs up, like lying down like a zombie with the boots on for 8 hours. And it was the only way I could sleep. And I remember kind of waking up in the morning and be like, yeah, that's how your legs should hurt. And my legs have never hurt in that same way since. So I guess.
Well, I'm going to put a disclaimer, everybody out there. You don't wear your compression boots for 10 hours, okay? That's not what we're saying here. Could you get up and walk out of bed after that?
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, yeah.
So that had to be 19 years old. Not many 19-year-olds get to do Kona. That had to be a pretty special experience for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course, yeah. I'm telling just some goofy story basically because that came to mind. But there's so many better stories I could tell. Like, I mean, particularly in Kona, I remember just waking up in the morning and it being like, wow, I'm only 19 years old and this is like what triathletes dream their whole life to have, and literally just feeling the energy in the air and going to the start line and. Oh God, it was just this incredible experience. And yeah, I mean, and then of course I remember, my first Ironman win with you at Coeur d'Alene there, right? Yeah. And it's like, I was trying to make it to the finish line, Mike, to get there for the midnight to cheer the final finishers on. Okay. And I'm walking through the town and everyone wanted to buy me a drink. So you might not know this, but by the time I got there, I probably had 10 drinks because all the locals, I'd be walking by on the street to get there and they're like, no, come in, you got to have a drink with us. So I finally get to the finish line and it was like 11:54. And you were like,
you kind of, I have to say, you kind of close. Usually they're about 11 o'clock, 11:15. And there you come. I go, well, at least he made it.
Exactly. Because I parked and it was only like 8 blocks, but every single block I had to have a drink. I look back and go, oh, what a great experience. Because I ended up having all these, and I wish I actually would have gotten to the finish line earlier too, because I kind of missed that. But I had all these different conversations with different people at all these bars, and it was kind of a crazy night. Yeah.
That's good. Nothing wrong with that, Sam. That's good. I'll forgive you, but the next time, you know what time you got to be there.
Yeah, 11 to 11:15. I'll leave at 10 to make sure I get there on time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, again, thank you very much, Sam Long, for your time. I know you've got a busy schedule. You know, here it is, January, and you and I both know May is going to be here before we know it. It's just how time flies. So I wish you the best of luck in your season, and I can't wait to see you at the start and finish lines, buddy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike, and thank you for being such a great ambassador for everyone in this sport.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for listening to another edition of Find Your Finish Line, presented by Curad Performance, the official medical supplier of Ironman. And if you like the show, you can find it obviously on Spotify or Overcast. Go to my website, MikeRiley.net, and look it up there. And give us a review if you would. That would be fantastic. Tell us how we're doing. So everybody, always keep in mind, you're the cause of your own experience. Keep that in mind, and you'll take responsibility for everything you do. Be safe out there on the roads, and I can't wait to see you at the next finish line. Aloha.